Cody Bellinger was the NL's Rookie of the Year at age 22, MVP at 24, and World Series champion at 25. But by 27, nobody wanted him. And for most of the last 3 years, nobody has wanted to commit to him long term. Now he's 30, and he's finally about to get paid. Most of the time, a player rising, then falling, and then re-rising means one thing: injuries. And yes, injuries are a massive factor in Bellinger's career, but Belly hasn't simply gotten healthy and returned to peak form. He's completely changed his approach at the plate and transformed into a totally different style of player. Before we get to his most recent season with the Yankees and why I finally think he's deserving of that long-term commitment, I'll briefly touch on just how good he was to start his career and just how bad things got earlier this decade. 13 players in league history have won both Rookie of the Year and MVP within their first 3 full seasons of service. 7 on this list are or will be in the Hall of Fame. 4 others started on the Hall of Fame track before their 30s were derailed by injury, and 1 did copious amounts of PEDs. That leaves us with Cody Bellinger, the most recent entry on this list. As a rookie, Bellinger was the typical star slugging first baseman. Debuting at just 21 years old, Belly mashed 39 homers and produced a 138 WRC+. He hit the ball hard and whiffed a ton. He also drew his walks and played mediocre defense. Just looking at those attributes, you would think of him as like a Nick Kurtz or some other big-time slugging first baseman. But his big distinguishing feature was his athleticism, as he finished in the 90th percentile in terms of sprint speed. For that reason, he got some reps at all 3 outfield positions as well as first base. But other than that, he was what you'd expect from a typical cleanup first base bat. And he cleaned up the Rookie of the Year vote, winning unanimously and finishing 9th in NL MVP. Belly kicked off his second season in a pretty brutal sophomore slump, but from June on, he hit at about the same level as he did his rookie season. He also played more and more center field as the year went on. The big leap came in 2019. Bellinger swatted 47 big flies, but maybe more impressively, he got his batting average over 300. He hit the ball even harder than he did his rookie year, all while dropping his strikeout rate by 10 points. He also won a Gold Glove in his first season primarily playing the outfield, where he graded out with elite range and a cannon arm. He had 15 FWAR and 17 BWAR through his age 23 season. That's a Hall of Fame pace. Only 9 players have accumulated that much BWAR in their first 3 seasons in the show since the 1950s, and he did so by evolving as a player. Much like young Mike Trout, Bellinger maintained his strengths while shrinking his weaknesses. He morphed from the limited slugging first base archetype into a true 5-tool superstar. Even though he's never repeated that MVP level production, the adaptability that elevated him to that level also saved him when the good times stopped rolling. The COVID year was strange, and Belly was solid but not great. Even with his production down, he showed up when it mattered most.
Cody Bellinger has done it, and the Dodgers lead in Game 7.
The Dodgers went on to win it all, and without Bellinger's contributions on both sides of the ball, it would not have happened. But during that playoff run, Bellinger hurt his shoulder. Most fans and media attribute this NLCS injury to his slide in production in the preceding years. 2 years after winning MVP, Cody Bellinger was the worst hitter in baseball. He entered the season with a career 137 WRC+. In 2021, he put up a 47, meaning he was 53% worse than the average hitter. To put that into context, those are Austin Hedges tier numbers. Things weren't much better in 2022 when he played a full season of games, struck out more, walked less, and finished the year with even uglier metrics. All of the contact advancements that he'd made in 2019 had vanished. as did the power, which had been there from the very beginning. The Dodgers non-tendered their former future superstar after his age 26 season, which was totally unthinkable just 18 months earlier. After that season, I made a video about the downfalls of Bellinger and Christian Yelich, whose careers had torpedoed in unison in the 3 years following their 2019 MVP race. In the video, I made a few important points in regards to Belly's fall off. First of all, contrary to popular belief, the injury that zapped his power came in April of 2021, when he fractured his shin. From his peak in 2019 and modest 2020 to his valley in 2021, his raw power output fell off a cliff, likely due to that fractured shin ruining his swing mechanics. Across 2021 and 2022, he hit approximately 600 batted balls without eclipsing an exit velocity of 107.4 miles per hour. He surpassed that figure 14 times in the shortened 2020 season alone, including 3 times after dislocating his shoulder. My second conclusion was that Belly had many more issues to fix than Yelly to become a great player again. While Yelich just had to get healthy and lift the ball again, Bellinger's contact, discipline, and power rates were all down. He likely needed a full mechanical reworking of his swing to re-emerge as a quality bat. I ended the video on a fairly optimistic note, but I felt that Bellinger's road back would start with him regaining that power. That never happened. The Cubs signed Belly to a 1-year contract before 2023, and his exit velocity and hard hit numbers actually got even worse. If I'd have known that that would happen, I'd probably assume that he'd be out of the league by now. What I never anticipated was Belly completely reinventing himself as a player. But before we get to that, here's a word from today's sponsor, Arena Club. It's a new year, a new day, and it's finally time to fill out those card collections. Whether you're into baseball or Pokemon cards, Arena Club slab packs offer grails worth 20 times the price of the pack. They also show you every single pull rate available before you buy. No mysteries, no BS, no stress. Let's let one rip. I'll show you myself. Oh baby, we got a little judgy. Aaron Judge, Tyler Austin, Rookie Stars card. That's a classic for me. Who remembers their first game when they each homered in their first at-bats in the show? This card is right up my alley. But if I got something that I didn't like, I could accept Arena Club's instant offer based on the estimated value of the card. As a kid, nothing beat picking up a few packs of cards at the store and ripping them on the car ride home. Arena Club has brought that experience back into my life. And if you want to feel that again too, don't miss this. First time collectors get 20% off. arenaclub.com/ATB. Code ATB. That's 20% off your first slab pack or card purchase at arenaclub.com/ATB with code ATB at checkout. Thanks so much, Arena Club. In 2021 and 2022, Bellinger whiffed on 29.7 and 27.2% of his swings, respectively. Those rates are in line with his first 2 seasons in the show, but the power he displayed as a Ute had left him. Even though he was selling out for power and striking out like a power hitter, the same approach that worked for him as a rookie, he simply wasn't producing power. If he wanted to save his career, he either had to find that power or start making more contact. We don't have bat speed data from before 2023, but I bet he slowed his swing down considerably that season in an effort to make more contact, and it worked to an unbelievable degree. Along with the further decreases in raw power, he saw astronomical improvements in his whiff and strikeout rates. His whiff rate went from 27.2 in 2022 to a career low 20.1 in 2023. He only whiffed on 15% of his swings in the zone, making him one of the tougher at-bats in all of MLB. Bellinger hit 193 across 2021 and 2022. That average rose to 307 in 2023, thanks in part to cutting his strikeout rate nearly in half. That type of leap is incredibly rare to see in one single season. We'd known that he was capable of whiffing and striking out less, as he'd shown in 2019 and 2020, but nobody on this planet anticipated him cutting his strikeout rate even lower than his MVP season after the disastrous 2021 and 2022 campaigns. On top of that, despite his raw power metrics continuing to drop, his in-game power production was pretty damn good. He finished 2023 slugging .525 with a .218 ISO. Both of those figures are third best in his career to this day, only trailing his Rookie of the Year and MVP campaigns. He slugged 26 homers and drove in 95 runs, all while missing a full month due to injury. Changing to the contact-oriented approach not only improved his contact, but also his power. Massive round of applause from the Boomers. It was a fantastic offensive season, paired with great defense in center field and at first base. He also stole a career-high 20 bags. Cody Bellinger, 5-tool player once again. Not elite at everything like in 2019, but being average or better at each category made him extremely productive. Belly finished 10th in NL MVP voting, and won his first Silver Slugger in 4 years. The Cubs gambled, and it paid off, and Belly was hitting the market coming off an excellent turnaround season. MLB trade rumors had his contract projection at 12 years and $264 million. Fangraphs crowdsource had Bellinger at a more conservative 6 years and $144 million. He declined the qualifying offer in November, attaching draft pick compensation to his so-called free agency. The big story was Shohei Ohtani signing with the Dodgers in December, but no news on Belly. By late January, he still had nothing on the table. At this point, it was clear that teams weren't bought all the way in to Bellinger's 2023. The most glaring issue was the difference between his expected stats and his actual stats. As a batter who pulled an above-average number of fly balls, it was normal for his expected stats to underreport his true ability. But that gap was massive. He outperformed his ex-WOBA by 43 points, indicating that he had an extremely lucky season. It was the 4th luckiest season out of 258 qualified batters. The batted ball data suggested that this level of power output just wasn't repeatable. With only one recent season under his belt as a high-contact bat, teams weren't ready to gamble 9 figures on him repeating these results. After the start of spring training, Bellinger settled on a contract to return to the Cubs. 3 years, $80 million with opt-outs after each season. This is a pillow contract. Under a third of the MLB trade rumors projection and just over half of the Fangraphs projection. As it turns out, the market was right to be bearish. Expected stats aren't meant to be predictive, but Bellinger's 2023 expected stats line up eerily well with his actual 2024 stats. He maintained very good strikeout and contact rates, but the power and defense both regressed significantly. A fractured rib in April and a broken finger in July are likely culprits, but the ball also just didn't fly at Wrigley in 2024. In terms of park factor, Wrigley went from 10th in homers in 2023 to 26th in 2024. In the same number of games, Belly hit 8 fewer homers, slugged nearly 100 points lower, and only produced slightly above average on offense overall. He ultimately produced a 2-WAR season, opting into year 2 of his second contract with the Cubs. Regardless of how good a find he was in 2023, the Cubs wanted no part of him after 2024. They traded for Kyle Tucker to replace him, and with a glut of outfielders, they looked to move Bellinger. After his terrible 2022, the team he'd helped to the promised land didn't want him. After his bounce-back 2023, nobody wanted him for what he felt he was worth. After 2024, nobody wanted to trade for him, even as the Cubs dropped his price down to essentially free. Eventually, they shipped him to the Bronx, where the Yankees had a Juan Soto-sized hole in the outfield. The Yankees gave Cody Poteet and received Bellinger and $5 million in cash. A total salary dump for a former MVP who was still in his 20s and just a year removed from another 4-WAR season. And with the Yankees, he was in the perfect situation to succeed once again. Bellinger stayed healthy and perfected his 2023 archetype. He further improved his strikeout rate, whiffing a career-low 18% of the time. He also drew more walks than he had since 2021. His swing was tailor-made for the short porch, and he leaned into that. He had his highest pull air rate since his MVP 2019, which led led to a 29-homer season. He didn't quite slug as well as in 2023 overall, but he also wasn't as lucky. His underlying metrics were very similar to those of his 2023 season, all while playing the best defense of his career in the cavernous Yankee Stadium left field. It wasn't the flashiest season, but he accumulated 5 WAR, second most on the Yankees. The Yankees are signing him to a 5-year contract worth $32.5 million per season. The market spurned him for each of the last 3 seasons, each for slightly different reasons. So what makes this different than his free agency just a few years ago? I think the league has a better idea of Bellinger's true talent level than they did at this point 2 years ago. His high contact, pull fly ball approach has proven to be sustainable. It looks like 2023 is his ceiling right now, 2024 is his floor, and 2025 is closer to his median offensive output. Bellinger's defensive metrics in 2025 were also fantastic. Even if that level isn't sustainable, it brings up his floor higher than it was after 2023. I also think the Yankees make the most sense for Belly, since his bat plays so well in that ballpark. Even though his career has been such a wild roller coaster to this point, for the first time maybe ever, I finally feel like I have a handle on the type of player that Belly truly is. He's not the Hall of Famer that he was seemingly destined to be early on, and despite never recovering his raw power post-injury, he's morphed into a well-rounded, contact-oriented, all-star tier outfielder. He reminds me a lot of Brandon Nimmo at the same age, who also hit free agency after his age 29 season and has been very productive since. Numerous injuries have taken Nimmo's athleticism since then, and I'm bearish on his career going forward, but the Mets definitely got their money's worth across the past 3 seasons. As long as Bellinger stays healthy and keeps his legs under him, he should age well and produce well into his mid-30s. I never thought I'd be this high on this dude without his power returning, but here we are. Let me know your thoughts on the contract you'd offer to Bellinger and how you think he'll perform over these next few seasons. And thanks so much for watching. If you want some more Yankees coverage, check me out on the Fireside Yankees podcast every Tuesday. And shout out to my channel members Misty, Ethan, Alex, Mammoth, Vikram, JJ, John, Jackson, Ryan, Flyatory, Vifi, Okay Then But Why, GF, Wavy, Perdower, Joshua, Edmania, DM, TSG, Tommy, Delvizinal, Nathan, Lorenzo, Drew, Angwen, Penguin, Benny, Cam, Stramo, Zach E, Charm, Jennifer, Zach B, Askes, Juan, Jasmine, and Nimble. I couldn't get this one out early to you guys because it was such timely news, but I have a special members only video coming out in a few days. Thanks again for supporting, it truly means the world to me.